Come here, son, nephew, young man. Let me holler at you. So one of my YouTube subscribers asked me to make a video about women making circular arguments, which they do. And they are the best at it, don't get me wrong. But men do it also. Now, for me, there are three categories of people who do this. One, children who don't know better. You say, hey, child, uh, they ask you how many licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop. And you say, I don't know, 1,000. They may say, but if you only go 1,000, you may forget the piece of the Tootsie Roll that's inside. Okay, so then you say 1,000,000. Well, that's too many. The Tootsie, you see, it's a circle. Now, a child might actually ask you like something like that and mean it. They're trying to find out what life is about. I once had a kid who I was involved in doing some counseling for. He asked me how many stars are in the sky. And he says, well, let's see if we can count them. But he's 9 years old and he's really interested in science. That's legit. Now you have another category, which is people who just want to win an argument. Or at least they don't want to be wrong. So they'll keep, but, what if, and how about they'll do that until you can't argue anymore. They'll stall you until you just give up. And I guess that makes them feel a certain type of way. I don't know. So I had a cousin, we were talking about, he wanted to debate me on Bruce Lee, who's an actor, he's a martial artist. He was a martial artist and an actor, not a fighter. And he wanted to debate about why Bruce Lee could beat Chuck Norris or Michael J. White. And I'm like, dude, these are men with real fight records. Yeah, but you can measure how fast Bruce Lee is and the velocity of how fast he's hitting the bag and moving on film. And, I'm like, okay, man, because he wants to keep going in circles and not just admit Bruce Lee's not a fighter. But okay. Another category you have is when a narcissist does it. Now, this is to either gaslight you, which means to basically try to make you question your sanity, or it's to do the same type of deflection so that person can remain on a pedestal. It is also to get a reaction out of you. And the narcissist has a problem with self-control, probably going back to their childhood, and in their psyche, they may not be aware of it, but that's debatable. But either way, they have control issues and they have to control everything, even a conversation. And every bit of control, even from a small conversation to them tampering with something that you're working on and you're trying to gain a certain level of success, whatever, it's all to control you. And again, whether or not that's on purpose or not, that's debatable. So I made another video of an example where there's a Caucasian fellow and somebody was discussing the history of racism in policing. Well, he tries to deflect the conversation by saying, well, what about the FBI crime statistics, huh? What about black on black crime? What about Chicago? See, those are common too. You'll hear that deflection commonly. But whether it's because this person's a diehard racist or because this person is just wants to be right, I don't know the guy personally, but either way, he's going to keep that circle going. So I gave him those statistics. Well, there's more white people in America than black people. So of course those statistics are going to be skewed. Or, well, I asked about black on white crime in particular, and I guess I could counter and say, hey man, there's more white police than anything. So of course, you're going to see certain categories where you may see certain ethnicities targeted. I mean, it's not like that's not historically documented that these things have happened. Now, this guy asked about male and female relationships. Okay, I'll give you a couple of ways that females might do it. You may have told a woman, hey, don't do that or this is going to go wrong. And then whatever that was that you asked her not to do goes wrong. And she's like, well, I don't remember you telling me that. And then it's like, well, why are you so controlling? Do you have insecurity issues? And it's like, wait a minute, we're going in this long circle, but we started right here. Men might do it, because most of the time men are going to go on logic, but you do have illogical men. So you may have men who say, okay, well, usually it's going to be more like a blame shift with men. Now, I was joking. Here's a joking example. I was in a hardware store when I was making the video about me getting that stripped lug off of a vehicle. And I came to the register and I joked with the lady, and I had to go back and get a hammer because I left the hammer. See, my tools were all at my house, so I just basically bought myself another tool set so both of my vehicles have tool sets, so I don't have to swap it around anymore. So I needed to get them anyway. But I had to go back in the store because I forgot to get another hammer. And when I got to the register, I'm like, hey, lady, how come you didn't remind me that it was hammer time? This is all your fault. You know how men do. We forget stuff and say, well, if you didn't distract me, I guess whatever the case may be. And it was in good humor or whatever the case may be. But yeah, a circular argument is when somebody just basically doesn't want to be wrong, doesn't want to get showed up, or they have some narcissistic tendencies and they're messing with their head, basically. That's the type of game you can't win. The only way the most you could do is not play. So when you see somebody deflecting blatant truth, now granted, you may have some situations where people are genuinely wanting to know the truth and genuinely don't understand, and what they're hearing is shocking to them. But most of the time, especially if you're dealing with a grown person, they just playing mind games, they being childish, they being narcissistic, and they just don't want to admit that they're wrong. So when you see that type of argument start to form, find your way out of the conversation. Oh, hey. Oh, man, I got to go check on my mom, or find a way out of your conversation, because it's not going anywhere but in a circle. And as always, never lose the will to win and never lose the will to survive.